Hey everyone! So I decided to make this video because ever since the release of CS2 there's been a massive increase in players. And I've been seeing lots of new players too, so I figured that it would be nice to give newcomers some tips on things like movement or aiming, since the game does not have a full tutorial. A proper one at least. Valve? I will go over the most basic stuff, from how to literally press W to the more advanced stuff like shooting or gun control. But you should take your time to process all this information. The goal of this video is basically two. First, make you a more resourceful player so that you don't feel overwhelmed or discouraged to play. And second and most important, make CS2 a more enjoyable experience for you and everyone else in your team, but especially for you. So, let's get started. Since we're already on the main menu, let's start by learning what are the different game modes. What does CS2 currently have to offer? Well, in its current state, CS2 has a few missing maps and game modes that will be re-added in the future, right Valve?
No.
But right now, for casual modes, you have your typical 10v10 matches, with no team collision and no friendly fire, and you have your deathmatch in its free-for-all variant. As for competitive modes, you have Wingman, which is competitive matches in a 2v2 format with small maps, and the regular competitive mode, where you have a separate rank for each map. And last you have Premier mode, in which both teams take turns banning maps from the 7 available in the current map pool until only one remains. Then you choose sides and the match starts in the map that was not banned. Here you have a global rank and you can see you can also go into the practice section of the menu, where you can find settings to practice and learn the game. More about that later. A game-changing feature that came with CS2 is the loadout section. This is very important, although right now we have way too many slots and not too many weapons to fill them with, so it's not too hard of a choice. Here you can choose what weapons to bring into a match. There's no need for you to spend time right now trying to figure out what are the best weapons for each category. It's best that you try them all and find out what works best for you and your playstyle. Try all the pistols, try both starter pistol for CT, try all the SMGs, all the rifles and so on. However, it's in your best interest to at least keep the AK for the T side and one of the M4s for the CT side. You can equip both M4s if you want. These are the most common weapons you'll see everyone use, so you should get familiar with them and learn how they work. There is a dedicated tab for options of general interest you should check out. There are many more settings that I recommend you modify to your liking before starting your journey in Counter-Strike, but I will talk about them throughout the video whenever we cover a related topic. Now, let's talk about the objectives. As you may already know, CS2 is a game about the Ts and the CTs. The Ts have to plant a bomb in either bomb site A or B, and the CTs have to stop them. However, you don't need to kill everyone on the other team to win a round. Many rounds in CS2 end either because the Ts fail to plant the bomb or die, or the CTs don't defuse the bomb in time. This means that if you have a favorable position and you have the objective, aka the bomb, in most cases you should not hound down the enemy. The bomb's on B, just stay on B, stay on B.
There is two middle.
Don't pick short, don't pick short. I have short. Now, I know that your pattern recognition monkey brain craves for dopamine, every CS player does, but this is Counter-Strike, and patience is rewarded. If a terrorist carrying the bomb dies and you are playing a CT, you should definitely work with your team to seize the area where the bomb has been dropped and concentrate your efforts in keeping the Ts from recovering the bomb. One is pushing me mid. Bomb is long. On the other hand, if you're playing as T and your team has planted the bomb, there's no need for you to leave the bomb site until it detonates. Just hold your position and cooperate with your allies. Use a few smokes where necessary. For the Ts, the bomb always appears in the minimap. For the CTs, it only appears when a CT player has direct line of sight with it. Speaking of the minimap. The minimap is a key source of information, but you should not abuse it. Otherwise, you might find yourself looking at the map when an enemy is fighting at you. The minimap shows you a 2D top-down view of the map with your position, your teammates' positions, the bomb, and enemies if they are being seen. It also shows you a circle around your position every time you make a sound that can be heard by other players, which we will talk about now. In the minimap you can see that everyone has a color. Stay alert in case they mention your color. Sound is another major element in CS2. You cannot play CS without sound. Sound in this game allows you to accurately pinpoint an enemy's location through footsteps and other sounds, so using headphones is a must. Ramp. Tetris. Sight. Pretty much every action you take makes a sound that other players will hear, if in range. Shooting, reloading, running, jumping up and falling down, dropping weapons and picking up items, starting to plant the bomb and starting to defuse the bomb, using doors, using sprays, taking damage, throwing utility, and even swinging your knife in the air. There are a few exceptions, however, and those are walking or shifting, crouching, switching weapons, and picking up items while walking. Notice how no ring appears around me on the map when I perform any of these actions. Keep in mind that jumping to a higher platform does not make a falling sound, but you still produce a jumping sound regardless of if you are holding shift or not. If your headset allows you to do so, it's better to play Counter-Strike at 100% volume.
Hello.
If not, you should lower it until you're comfortable with it. Despite walking being a great option to avoid giving away your position, you move at almost half the speed, so you're never going to be able to rush a site as T or retake as CT. Walking should generally be used while defending a position to avoid giving away where you are hiding, so that enemies need to check all angles. But rotations, for instance, should be done while running. Mostly. To rotate is to leave a bomb site to go defend the other. Typically a CT when the terrorists are trying to take control of a site. I think they're pushing mid, yeah. Donut. If you want to move quickly, pull out your knife. It doesn't matter how big the gun you're carrying in your back is, if you hold your knife, you move at the maximum speed possible. You should always run with your knife at the start of the round, and switch to your rifle or pistol as soon as you reach the point of encounter. Every map has its points of encounter, or meeting points if you will, where both teams collide and are first seen by each other at the beginning of the round. Reaching your destination faster than the enemy can give you an edge, and allow you to hold the angle. If you're running around with your rifle, you risk losing your position and getting shot as soon as you pick. Also, stop climbing ladders like this, and start climbing ladders like this. Look up and at a 90-degree angle from the ladder, and move both up and sideways. You will climb much faster by combining two movement keys. Now we're going to talk about shooting, aiming and weapon mechanics in general. Although this topic might seem the most important one in the video, you should not neglect everything else that we've talked about until now. Aiming and fast reflexes might win you the clutches, but remember, it's not about how many people you send to the Shadow Realm. It's about good positioning, teamwork and winning the match. That being said, let's talk about the most important thing about aiming, and that is how do you get good at aiming? Well, practice. That's all there is to it. There's no secret technique, just practice and patience. You can use trainers, play deathmatch or workshop maps, but it all boils down to practice and getting used to aiming with your mouse. In CS, one of the most important things to learn is recoil control, aka spray patterns. Every gun in the game has its own pattern. If you dump a magazine with an AK, you will notice that it always follows the same line every single time. That's the AK's pattern. If you move your mouse in the opposite direction, you will counteract the weapon's recoil. The further away you are, the more you have to compensate. The more you practice, the better. However, you don't need to learn every single pattern of every single weapon in the game. In fact, you don't need to start learning the full pattern of any weapon. You can instead just learn the beginning of a pattern, which in most cases is just straight down. Grab an AK and learn the first 7 or 8 bullets of the spray pattern. Then do the same with each M4. Congratulations, you can now use a rifle in both teams. If you're struggling with recoil control, you can go to Settings and activate the option that enables your crosshair to follow the recoil pattern. That way you can have some sort of assistance while aiming, and you don't need to memorize any pattern, you just keep your crosshair over the bad guys and spray. Regarding crosshair configuration, I suggest you start with dynamic crosshair, which increases in size with movement. This gives you an idea of whether you are accurate or not. As mouse sensitivity goes, you should generally have a low sensitivity, and low DPI if your mouse allows you to. The idea is that you have just enough sensitivity to look around and being able to do a quick 180, while being able to precisely control recoil without overcompensating. Many new players ask pros what their sense of DPI are, but it's up to personal preference. Please note that no gun is 100% accurate in CS, not even the AVP. This is called spread, and every weapon has it. If you're unfamiliar with a weapon and you're shooting from a distance, you can try tapping. Tapping is a reliable way to hit your shots and increase the chance to land a headshot, at the cost of potentially increasing the time to kill. In Counter-Strike, the time to kill can be as low as your reaction time, but you must remain calm. Taking your time to aim is much better than panicking and shooting everywhere. The one thing new players do the most is running and shooting. Moving greatly increases your inaccuracy, to the point that you're most likely to miss all your shots, depending on the gun that you're using and how far away from your target you are. Shotguns and SMGs are good to shoot while running, but with rifles it's much better to stand still as soon as you spot an enemy. To quickly reduce your movement speed, you can either crouch or use yet another movement technique called counter-strafing. To do it, you just press the movement key opposite to the direction that you're moving, to reduce your movement speed as quickly as possible. You can combine movement keys and short bursts of fire to stay on the move while being accurate. Notice how I strafe, counter-strafe, shoot and repeat. Also, not every gun kills with one hit to the head, just a few. The AVP on the other hand is a one-hit kill above the waist. Depending on the gun that you use, you have different ways of holding an angle. Every weapon type has its range where it's most dangerous. If you try to engage in close quarter combat using a rifle against an SMG, you might be putting yourself at a disadvantage, especially when you're still learning to aim. You can also pre-fire. If you think an enemy is holding a particular angle, you can fire before having visual confirmation that they are there. This is another strat that should not be abused. You can't just go around shooting every single corner in the hopes of killing someone. It's good to keep the pressure on the enemy and punish players that like to hold the same angle for too long every round. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's talk about economy and items. But don't worry, I won't go too much into detail with this, just know that it's a big part of the game. Know that there's times when you should buy and there's times when you should buy nothing at all. As a rule of thumb, if you and everyone else in your team has $2,000 or less, you should consider not buying anything, aka doing an eco round in order to save money for the next round. On the other hand, if you all have $4,000 each, you should definitely buy armor, a rifle and some utility. Remember, it's not your money, it's your team's money. Important note about armor. If you don't wear armor at all, you will get aim punched every time you are hit, making it close to impossible to land your shots. There's also the round loss bonus, which gives you more money for each consecutive round lost. By the way, if you want to quickly drop an item for a friend, just hold the control key while buying. You can also refund purchased items. Counter-Strike has always been loved for its simple, responsive gameplay. The game offers you a limited set of tools you can use to your advantage, and properly using utility can put your team ahead. You have 4 options, 5 if you count the decoy, and those are flashes, smokes, grenades and molotovs. They are all equally important and incredibly useful if employed correctly. Molotovs and incendiaries are simple. You throw them and you burn people. Every arsonist's dream. One of the new mechanics in CS2 is the revamped smoke system. You might have seen it in the official trailer already. If not, know that shooting through a smoke now temporarily pokes a hole that allows you to briefly see anything on the other side. You can also use them to extinguish flames. Grenades are pretty self-explanatory, but they can also be used to momentarily dissipate smoke. Unlike other FPS shooters, grenades never kill in one hit, even with no armor. Flashes are a double-edged sword, because you can flash your teammates, so always make sure you're not going to flash a friendly. Watch around you and watch your map. If in doubt, warn your team. Flashing, let's go A. Flash B, orange, be careful. They will probably get flashed anyway. Decoys are the Dark Souls remaster of utility. They are not that good, but everybody buys one when they have some cash to spare. All they do is fire blanks imitating the sound of your primary weapon, if you have one. You can use them to cause confusion, or as a makeshift flash. If you want to practice utility lineups, you can watch a few YouTube videos and then jump into CS2, go to practice, and activate these 3 checks that will help you learn utility usage and placement faster. Lastly, I want to talk about communication and voice chat. Just as much as any other competitive, team-based game, communication is vital in CS. If you cannot use a microphone, or if your Eastern European teammates struggle to form basic, coherent sentences,
help, I say drop, connect.
You can always issue voice radio commands using your communication wheels. There's 3 of them and you can customize them to your liking. Quickly tapping an assigned key to open one of the wheels will place a marker on the map for your allies to see. You can indicate the position of enemies, items, and the bomb. Another thing you should learn with time are map callouts. Every position of every map has a name, but it would be foolish to try and learn them all right now. You can start off by remembering the names of the most visited areas in a map, such as the bomb site and places where enemies could come from. A single, well-timed callout can be the difference between winning or losing a round.
Maybe out.
30 HP, boosting 2 guys mid. The more information you give, the better, although you should remain silent if you have no more information to give. It can be hard to listen to footsteps while someone is yelling at you. There are a few options to play around here, but the most important one is the temporarily disable incoming chat key. This can prove useful for those situations when you're in a 1v3 clutch and the random decides it's the perfect time to tell you how the day is going.
Dai, yo meto púa, me encanta meter púa, me encanta.
I want to talk about one last thing. As with any online game that has the slightest hint of rivalry and competition, you will find toxic people arguing over the dumbest shit. If someone annoys you, don't just limit yourself to muting them. Press and hold tab, right click to activate the mouse, right click on their name, select report, and choose the abusive communications or profile option. If they get reported enough times, not only will they be automatically muted for everyone every time they join a lobby, but also it will potentially lower their trust factor rating and even time them out from playing competitive matches. You will be doing yourself and the community a favor. You might also find people trying to kick you from a casual match for losing a 1v7 clutch that they would have surely won because they're definitely not a bunch of bitches, just ignore them. If someone is nice to you though, make sure to comment them. At lower ranks, you might come across with uncooperative people. Go plant on B, my man. I follow you.
Shut the fuck up!
Sometimes they believe they can 1v5 the entire team with a deagle and no armor. You press 5, press 5. Not on your keypad, but like you know the keys above your Other times they're just like you, a noob. In those cases, it's usually best to play around it. Even when you know you should stay back and defend, don't let your team's deaths be in vain. Staying in close proximity to your allies greatly increases your chances to win the round. It's not the right play to do, but it's the one you have to do to win. All I just said about good and bad players applies both ways, obviously. If you want to be a good player for yourself, you have to be a good player for everyone else in your team too. Many Counter-Strike players argue that 50% of the game is your mindset and the psychology with which you approach the rounds. Just like how you approach your life every day. If you start blaming your teammates for losing rounds, all you will ever achieve is demoralizing them, which will lose you even more rounds. If you see an ally that is underperforming, try to stay with them. With your help, they might become a valuable asset. Telling them how bad they are won't help at all. And don't be afraid to be the one calling the shots. If you have to be the leader, then be it. Just saying, "Everybody rush me, is much better than running around with no clear goal in mind. If you believe in your team, they will believe in you. Nice shot!
Nice job.
Thank you so much for watching. I don't know when I'll make my next video, but please, if there's anything you would have liked me to talk about, comment down below, and I might make a second part. This is my first video, so I'm 100% open to constructive criticism, and I would love to hear from you. Until next time.